All right, good morning everyone. How's everybody doing today? Paul Trani here. Gonna dive into getting started in Adobe XD designing a photo sharing app. This is part 2 of 2. So we will dive into this. Welcome everyone. If you are joining me on YouTube, hop on over to behance.net/live. That would be great. Oliver, good to have you here. Cecile, Nana, good to have you here as well. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can't. All systems go on this side. So we're going to dive into this. And yeah, let's have a little fun, shall we? Yes. All right, everything is good. So thank you so much. We're going to dive into this. Hopefully I didn't turn it up too much. I want to make sure you could hear a little bit of background music and me, of course. And what we're going to be doing is diving into this photo sharing app. Again, we know, probably one of the most popular apps is, say, for instance, photo sharing apps. So whether you're talking Instagram, or Snapchat, or any of those social media apps, it's all about sort of sharing visually what you're going through, or what you're dealing with. But why are we doing this? Essentially, all this week we have some fantastic guests in, and we have, you can see right over here, the schedule. We have Zach Nielsen coming in with Chris Cannon. Zach's been in before, and he's like a really fantastic guy, really sweet guy, and he's going to be live 9 a.m. And by the way, we do have Sarah Raj kicking it off. She just actually just got done streaming 8:30 to 9 as part of the Daily Creative Challenge. Just so you know, Sarah covered sort of ordering flowers. So a flower ordering app is what the challenge is today. So, but then we're going to have Sarah up again from 11 to 1. Yeah, she's been producing a lot of content. Okay, she's been producing a lot of content, really hosting these XD daily creative challenges. Let's bring the music up a touch. That should be okay. Fantastic. And so I'm really looking forward to, I think she's going to have a lot of resources of what's going to come down to. Andrea Hawk as well, with Erica Larson, and also Michael Jarrett will be hosting on day 1 technically. But let's dive into this. This is part 2 of 2. We're going to start designing more of these screens, and then we're going to start prototyping and sharing. But I'm also going to switch over to just kind of like just a quick recap of what I did last time. And thank you, Sarah, for joining us. And yeah, she's in chat as well. Oh, thank you so much. You know, the key to good hair, Felicia, is not washing it. That's disgusting. Just kidding. But seriously, maybe not every day. Cheers. This segment brought to you by Equator Coffee. If you're tired, try Equator. Just kidding. We are not sponsored or anything. We're just going to create because we like to create, essentially. So this is being recorded. I don't mean to ignore anybody who's watching, but mainly this is your resource. This is a resource for the week as I deal with creating a photo sharing app, and you'll see it here in a second as soon as I get this one open. So let's dive into this. I'm going to share my screen. Cindy's hair is looking good, at least in her avatar. Well played, looking good. Amber, good to have you here as well. And Darren gives Sarah a shout out for her daily challenges, which is really cool because she does a great job and she's just a sweet person as well. So this is your UX crash course. I'm not going to go through all of this. Kind of went through the differences between UX and UI design. Okay, and we're actually at the UI design phase. So essentially, yeah, we know what this this ketchup bottle is how it's going to be shaped and everything. Basically, its functionality, if you will. We know the target audience, and then we get into sort of kind of designing the bottle as well as the label. So we're at the UI design phase for this, and the project is a photo sharing app. So I'm sure people are doing lots of things, traveling lots of places. Who knows? Just in those moments where they want to capture something, or they might notice that something's cool around the corner. So thank you so much, Howard. I appreciate that. Yes. So I actually recently moved, and what I'm noticing is all these little, like, there's these cool little, like, murals just kind of like down these side streets that I was not aware of here in Denver. And maybe you have that, Amber or Darren, in where you live. So I just want something that says, hey, you know what? Over one street, there's something like really cool. Lots of people have taken photos in that spot. So go check it out. So that's kind of the idea. It's sort of a geolocation-based photo sharing app. Disregard this, but, again, this is just my research. Snapchat going through, hey, new couch, you like it? I don't know. I don't do Snapchat, really. I'm sorry. I think I missed the age cutoff for Snapchat. I do Instagram as well. But again, just kind of seeing what content is out there and how each analyzes or kind of tackles sort of taking photos. So here you have the discovery screen, which I still need to build out this discovery screen. But what's going to happen if this happens, you're going to dive right into sort of taking a photo right in that area. And actually what's going to be before that is the location-based screen. But I'm kind of seeing what's out there, how they execute just sort of taking photos. Once you take this photo right here, you can see, what that brings up next. You add filters to it, you're tagging, and then again, it's like, congratulations. So again, just being aware of how we do that. Another thing, maybe you're aware of this, Eric and Anil, good to see you here as well. Ooh, murals in Tampa as well. That's cool to hear. I think, what is it? Isn't it Philadelphia is the one city, that, at least in the U.S., that has like more public art than any other city, which kind of surprised me. I actually thought it'd be like Miami or something. But nonetheless, you can now post works in progress on Behance. So your Behance app, if you will, and I can show that to you in a second, you can capture content. And typically it'd be like what you're working on. And I can launch mine in a second. But Behance has the ability to share works in progress. Okay? And again, this is how it works, just so you know. Let's just tab over to this and zoom out. Give me 1 second. Should still be connected. Here's the Behance app, by the way, and this is what I should probably be doing for all of these. Scrolling through, but right down here at the bottom, adding a project or adding a work in progress. So again, just another photo sharing app. Click, and now I would point it at, whatever art that I'm working on. Like, hey, this is what I'm working on. What do you think? Right? But it all has this same methodology of capturing, right? You can see geolocation is actually on, and then you can post. And whether you post right away or if you have filters might be another thing. I'm kind of cycling through the filters, but I could always post from there or draw if I want to as well. So that's the short of it. Kind of sketch some things out. Think of it as a Yelp for photos. Let's dive into this. Enough talking. 8 minutes of talking. Sure, I may like talking, but I actually would much rather design. So here we are. Let me know if you have. Let me know if you actually do any. If you're on any of these, like if you're on Snapchat or if you're using Instagram Stories. I think that's a good question because Instagram Stories is kind of what I end up doing. So let me know. Lisa, good to have you here. Yes, Darren, Snapchat's not meant for you. So typically as I design, I'll have screenshots in here, right? So these are the same screenshots that I have, that you saw earlier. So I could take some of these and use them as a starting point. Like, it's perfectly fine to take an interface and to just kind of draw over it, right? Recreate it, whatever you need to do, right? So select this. This is just an image, right? I just brought it in here. You can see it's on my pasteboard as it shows over here. It says, hey, this is on my pasteboard. I can bring this in. I can select this. I can right click or just do Command L to lock it down. And then I can start to draw. So I can start to draw out and create this sort of comment icon just like that, okay? Since I'm creating a comment icon, again, this is just kind of the fundamentals of drawing. use my pen tool, boop, just like that, like that, like that, right? Over here on the side, we get the properties for it. You can see that there is no fill, not right now. Now there is one, and you can see it's squared away. This is what I love. My Instagram is PTRANI, Paul Trani, PTRANI. Because there's another Paul Trani in, like, Australia, and he will not give up that handle, even though I've offered him money. Anyways, so just draw over like what's there, right? So just like you want to use any sort of metaphors that are already in place in the public eye, like Instagram, and use that to your advantage, right? So again, we don't need to reinvent these really, but selecting these two, this is what I love. Taking these two, this shape and this shape with both of these selected. And I'm going to zoom in on this. And what I like to do is use right up here some Boolean operations. So we have add, subtract, intersect, divide. Well, those two selected, I could just select add, right? That's what I want to join them. Oh no, I actually got this a little off. Well, guess what? You can move it, right? I can bring this in. I can rotate it around to get it just the way I want. But the thing is that it's not destructive. So if you're in Illustrator, for instance, and you're using the Pathfinder tool, it's going to be destructive. Here I always can edit those points and be well on my way. Okay, which is nice. So coming in here, I could double click, I could select this. I could double click on this shape again. I can access this one little point. I could double click it again, and I can now get the Bezier points for it as well. So I can round that if I want to and make it look just a little more playful. Anytime I add curves, it just kind of makes it kind of nice. Another thing I consider, and this is new as well, with this selected, and it might not make that big of a difference, but right over here, you have control over the, yes, exactly. Thank you, Connor. It's basically Pathfinder panel, but better. So you inner stroke, outer stroke. Some of these are new. The butt cap. Oh, excuse me. How dare you? Round cap. The projecting cap. That's really interesting that's like what some of these are. This should be like bevel join, rounded. Okay, so these are a little bit different in Illustrator, for instance. If I select that, it'll round it, and it's very subtle, but it actually just rounded this part right here. So yes. Justin Roy, that's a good question. Why can't we make Illustrator's Pathfinder tool non-destructive? That's a good question for the Illustrator team. I know anytime we change any legacy tool, we have to be prepared for an outcry from people who've been using it a while. Maybe they want it destructive, because if you make it destructive, it's actually going to make this file size smaller. All right. Okay, so that's just a quick example of, kind of creating something and drawing. I'll tilt that a little bit more. I can come in and make a heart. There's always that challenge of, can you make a heart like in 2 points? Have you guys ever done this? Click. I'm not even going to be able to do this, I know. Or 3 points. I'd have to think about that for a second. But anytime I see this, like this circle, this is what I'd do. I'd go here. I would take any shape, and even if you're drawing right over here with one of these basic shapes, you can take that basic shape and access the individual Bezier points. As I double click, I can see the inside of it. There it is, and then I can pull that down, or I could double click and make that a sharp point. So I'll do something like this, and then this, and then I'm going to be very keenly aware of how much I've rotated this. Let's just set this to 0. But right over here, I can adjust the rotation by, say, 30, for instance. And you can see I've rotated it 30 degrees. Again, stand this up to 0. It's 360, so it'd be 330. And now we have it rotated to the right angle. Doesn't look that great. Could actually use some work, but it's really going to bother everybody if I don't do this right. So again, 30 degrees is not the right angle. 20 degrees. 340. Like that. Again, you get the idea. Using that join, we have kind of the start of a heart, and I could work on that some more later. So, Mike, let's dive into this some more. So much to show you. Yes, Connor, good call. So I like the idea of having a first time you create something, it is non-destructive. Second time you click on it, it is destructive. A lot of times when you get these points, look at this, what's happening here. This is like an overshoot a little bit. Like even right now, I'd actually like to join these two together. But what I can do is I can round these, the ends, and try to take care of that. It's still a little sharp. Oh, the minutia. Okay, so check this out. Ready for this? I'm glad we're getting to this. Again, this is part 2, so we can get into some of these details. See how we have that off just a touch, right? Well, there are subpixels in XD. So let me just kind of try to go up here, and let me, as I move this to the left and right, apologize for my zooming, but I'm going to kind of try to bring this. Let's do this. Up next to one another. Okay, so moving this over to the left and right, I can see it's doing it on a pixel level when I use my arrow keys. A lot of people do that. I'll come in here again. I want to do a straight up just 135. And again, 135.5, right? And that's what gets it right on the money. Pretty much 135.6. And then we have that shape. All right, so I was asked about symbols, and that's what I want to get into. Enough drawing. We have our shapes. We have 2 shapes that I want to keep reusing. And what I can do right over here, you can see a number of assets over here. Yes, look at all these assets that I'm currently using. I can add this as a symbol, okay? But I can also change the color. So this is my current color palette. So what I'll do is I'll come in here for the border. This is what gets interesting. I'm going to turn that off. I'm actually going to I'm going to click on one of these colors here. Okay, so this is interesting. So these are the colors that are changing. This is a current, something I'd kind of like changed. I actually want the border to be purple. So what if the border is black? There's no fill. If I click on it, actually is going to change the fill color. So typically I'll just have to use the color picker and pick that color like that. Anyways, I'm using these global colors because if I change it in one spot, it's going to change it everywhere. So the same but different. I'm not, you know, it's not exactly like Instagram, but it's semi-close. All right, let's get into this some more. We have some icons. We're going to turn them into symbols. Another shortcut for you, Eric. Do Command 3, and you can bring that, whatever is selected, in full screen. Darren says, could you use align to pixel grid for that? Maybe. So the thing is it's off a pasteboard. This is what's interesting. So when you get pixel grids, and if we go back to the splash screen with it selected, right over here, we can turn on the grid as we see here, and we can align, say, to a square size, for instance, might be an idea. So that's kind of what I'm pointing out, is aligning based on a layout or squares. And I can access it up here as well. So there's no align to pixel grid. There's align to a square grid. Ooh, I like it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Thank you, Howard. So I'm going to just go ahead and, this is perfect. Selecting this, I'll select this color. There we are. I kind of doubted myself. Apply as border or as a stroke, and it will apply it as a border. So if I select these two, thank you so much. Apply as border. Perfect. Thank you so much, Howard. Coming through. Thank you, sir. Cheers. All right, there's a couple other selections, and I feel like we sneak things in here. So always check these little flyout menus or these right-click menus. As I right-click, I can copy, delete, highlight on canvas, which is interesting. So as I select highlight on canvas, we could see it there, and wherever else it's being used. I think I'm using it a couple other places, but nonetheless, it highlights it right here. If I decide I want to change it, and here's a good use case as I open up this wires for mobile, this is kind of where I started with the design, right? This wires for mobile, if I revert it, was not my color palette. But if you can imagine how you get sort of more advanced into your design with your profiles, activity feed, all this stuff, all based on your colors, and then you decide to change it. What do? Come right over here. I can select the color I want to change. Okay, in this case, this one. And I can right click and select edit. Now when I edit, and this is all I did, and we'll watch it change for all of these, I could shift that up to the purple. And you can see this is the color palette that I want to go with. So once you have your assets kind of squared away, you'll notice that everything is going to come together really fast. Okay, adding a little tint there. And this is a lesser used color, but I'll change this one anyways, like that. And then from there, I can copy this and customize further in my own project. So you can go to File, Get UI Kits. Where did this come from? Right here. It's called Wireframes. That's where the Wires mobile UI kit, the one that I have open, there's a web version. And then if you go to more UI kits, guess how many you get? Oh, so many. Right in here. And what you're ultimately going to do is going to download them. But here's all of my UI kits that they have out there, and there are probably more. So the thing is we continually update those with more UI kits. So that's a good place to start, just to get the ball rolling quickly. Yeah, so yeah, Darren, I just did a revert to saved, which I could do with anything. So that's what's happening there, okay? But I just wanted to point out all these awesome UI kits that are available to you, right? This busy work, I don't want to have to worry about doing this, create an account. I don't want to have to worry about that. Let me do that. And that's what I did for my current app right in here. For a couple of these screens, we can see them right down here, right? I started using those. I ended up with this right here. And you could see off to the side, if you're using UI kits, some of them might have symbols. And you can see right over here, essentially some have come in, right? I could change those. Here's some others. But how do you make symbols? Well, you probably figure this out, but I love doing it with something like this. So here's a button. I actually have a couple of them. I'm going to select this button, and I'm going to go to symbols and just click the plus sign, and then it gets added the same way you can with colors, and you could also do that with character styles as well. Okay, taking the second one, adding that one, I have two buttons now. Let's say, for instance, I decide to go down here and I want to add a button over here. And this one is going to say post to Facebook. So notice how it has this green border. That says that it's basically a symbol. And what you can do with this instance of a symbol is you can double click on it and watch this. I'll just have two copies right here just so we're aware of it. For this one here, I want to say like post to Facebook, just pointing out that post to Facebook, that text is going to be changeable, if you will. But so the text is actually going to be specific per button, and the style will be tied back to that symbol. Notice if I double click on it, I can access this further. I can access these individual points. I can make changes to it. So what if I decide to change this to sort of a semi-transparent? You could see that it changes it everywhere. Okay. Another pro tip for you, if you're interested, right here, say for instance, I want this button to say post to Facebook everywhere. You can right click and then update all symbols. So if you decide to change your text and you're saying everywhere I want it to say post to Facebook, update all symbols, help us all. I guess it's always going to be individual. Anyways, update all symbols. So it did change it. There we go. The issue there, and I'm glad that came up, Ryan and Anil and Darren, is the fact that sometimes if you're in a symbol, if you double click, you might actually have the shape selected and not the symbol itself. So just be aware of what's selected, because you could be sort of a couple levels deep. And what will really help with this is if you open up your layers panel, and again, that's kind of behind my head, I apologize, but right back there, here's the layers panel. So we've switched from the assets panel to the layers panel, and we can start to see how everything's kind of squared away. As I double click on that, I can see, you know, the stacking order. So this might be an easy way to navigate things around. So you get the idea. Going over here, I'm going to change this. Log in using Facebook. All right. There we go. We have our design. We have this one. We can kind of take a look at this a little further. Expand this down. How do I say your name? Anelli? Come on. I don't know if... yeah, help me out here. I apologize. Thank you for bearing with me. You know, we have people from all over the world joining us, and let's not forget about the live streams taking place all this week, just so you know. I know a Noel that's spelt that way, N-O-E-L-L-E, so you say Noel, so do I say, I thought it was Anil, but... I feel like I should pronounce your name correctly because I feel like I know you pretty well. So thank you if you're new, or if you're a long-time watcher, that's fantastic too. Just brought in some screenshots we can see right here. I have some photos as well dropped in here. So again, what does this do? Here I am. Don't stalk me, but like here I am. And here's some key locations. So I was thinking about like, these are the popular spots for taking photos. So I can say, like a lot of people actually take photos at Avanti because you get a great view of downtown Denver from Avanti. So that's why this icon is larger, okay? And I'm here. So it says, hey, you know, you should go down here because what's here? If you click here, you got to get a display view of all the cool pictures of basically downtown Denver. So that's kind of the explore aspect of this. Or what you could do is you could dive right into taking a photo right here, just hitting that photo button. So we have two screens that I need to navigate to, and I'm actually already having an issue right here because I'm actually losing this on this white. So since, oh, Anel, like Adele. Thank you, Anel. Perfect. Anel, got it. So with this selected, since I don't know if this is going to be on a light or dark background, I want to keep it white, but I can, for this, in fact, I'll just dive into this. All right. For this photo icon, I'm just going to give it a shadow. Pretty simply, bring this up to 10. Offset is fine, and from here I can control its sort of contrast, like how much it's going to be offset, or the intensity of that black. But that's all I want to do, is just make it pop off just a little bit, just enough. And with that done, I'm going to select, I'm going to make sure this background is locked. Notice how it's locked, so I can't automatically just select it. There is a map behind it, which is also locked, but I don't even need it anymore. All right. I just added that back to my symbols library, and that's good to go. Okay. I got to get into prototyping just like my list shows you. This is my guide for what I'm working on. Using assets from UI kits. Showed you that. Creating assets and symbols. Designing lists with repeat grid or repeating elements, basically. Alexandra's asking, did I map out all the screens for this app and then upload all your assets? I had somewhat of a sketch drawn out that I don't have with me. So I had some of it sketched out. So basically sort of a flow chart of what was going to take place. I'm just doing the first couple screens. And then for the photos, I'm just pulling from everywhere as I need them is what's happening. For these photos, for instance, for this, I just transferred to my desktop using AirDrop. You know, for this photo actually came in thanks to Creative Cloud Libraries. So from here, OpenCC Libraries, that's where I pulled this photo from. Okay, so you can see if it wasn't here, I could easily have, this is what it looked like a second ago, by the way. I could have a square. One thing about the CC Libraries panel, as I move this over, it's a sort of little modal dialog box or modal panel. I can drop that onto any shape that I want. So I can drop it right in there, okay? And now notice how it has that lock, or link, excuse me, that link icon. So it's linked back to my Creative Cloud Library asset. So, all right. From there, turn off the border. I even like this. Wow. Ooh, I kind of like this. Look at how that photo pops. You know, this kind of comes down to the size of these photos as I post them. So if I want them to be square, I can consider, of course, making this perfectly square, okay? So maybe I want it to be like Instagram. How can I get it perfectly square? Well, right over here, 375. Like that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I could do something like that. I will play with it. Oh shoot. Thank you. I always do that. Sorry about that. I always accidentally switch because I have about 5 different screens. So let me show that one more time. I'm going to draw out a shape. Could be a sphere, could be a square, a rectangle. Opening up CC Libraries. We can see it right here. Here it is open, zoop, and then I can drop that on just like that. Now you can see that link icon. It's linked back to this Creative Cloud Library asset. Thanks, Darren. Yep, perfect. Sorry everybody about that. The chat is delayed, so there's a little bit of a lag there. So with this in place, it's actually linked back to this Creative Cloud Library, which is good. I can go with a square view if I want to, turning off that border as well. And I can still move this photo around. So once you drop a photo into, say for instance, a shape, even if it's from your desktop, as I go out to my desktop, it basically is treated like a mask. Okay, so let's just grab... Sorry about the ego pick, right? Let's just grab somebody else, help us. Right there, boom. Drop her in, just like that. I double click. Let's make this a little larger so you can see it. If I double click, I can actually move this person around and maybe have a tighter crop in this case, right? So this could be, again, my profile image somewhere, but just showing you how to bring in assets. Just drag and drop and you're good to go. Okay, so this is the capture screen. I'm going to start typing this up right up here, and I'll tell you why this is important in a second. So this is a live photo capture. This is going to be location. This is my splash screen. So that's good. Live photo capture. This is camera. Actually, no, this is a couple things. This is going to be the Discover location screen. Still kind of need to update these because these will typically be like the similar photos of something, right? So that's what this Discover location is going to be. Let's get rid of that. But I'm also going to have another screen that's very similar to that. Again, my favorite shortcut key is Command 3. That's going to allow you to zoom in on whatever's selected. So right here, we'll do camera roll. There we are. This is my camera roll. And then here's the discover location. How is this made? I'm going to take a step back and make it really fast. Right? Discover location. By the way, I love this. Check this out. You ready? You ready for this? Ready for this, Felicia and everyone? I could do the math, but I'm lazy. I actually want to have a 3-column grid. A number of ways to do this. This is the easiest way. If you happen to draw something the full length of the screen, you can come over here and you can say the width 375 divided by 3. Okay, so you could do math operations, boom, inside of Adobe XD for any numerical field that you can select. The height now is going to be the same, so 125 there. Perfect square, looking good. Go to my desktop, grab that photo or any photos. These will actually be all similar type of photos. Could be any one. Let's just grab this one. Dropping that in. In this case, I want to make many rows and many columns of it. So with it selected, I'm going to go over here to repeat grid. Anything that you can select, you can add to repeat grid. So boom. Repeat grid did what? Well, it gave you these controls. So I can grab either one of these control bars and expand this down, and you can see it will start duplicating it on down the line or vertically and horizontally. Right? Just like that. Okay? Not only that, I can get rid of this gutter right here. Let's take that in. Take that down to 0. No, you can't type in a number in there. You just kind of got to scrub. And there we have it. Okay? Easy enough. What if I have different photos? I'll select these 4, dropping it right in here. And you can see it propagate down and then start repeating. Right? So that's going to happen if you have more or less photos. Grabbing all these, dropping them in, they'll propagate on down. All right, so we have our camera roll. That's what this screen is, right? So we can go from here. This might be grouped. By the way, again, just using the layers panel to... Oh, no, it's just tricky to select. So this is going to jump to my photo library or my camera roll. This repeat grid, I'm going to send to back. So that's going to be command opening bracket, just like other apps. I'm going to bring that back there, and let's make sure that is set. Or I can just use my layers panel. Cool. Got that done. Discover the location. This is a specific place, so I could still work on this as far as it being better. You can also hold down Command Shift, by the way. So Nana, I don't know if you know this, Command Shift and then minus, or excuse me, not minus, just below the minus key, it's going to be the open bracket is going to send to the back. So that's, again, same thing as Illustrator. Okay, so this is the discover location. This is kind of where you discover things, and you don't need these if you're in the discover phase, or maybe you do. I don't know. That's why we're going to prototype this. And these are the screens we're going to prototype because I'm slowly running out of time. I want to show you some really cool things, really, really cool stuff here in a second. Just got to move those up. Let's move that up. Here's the screens I'm dealing with. Again, we'll keep this simple, kind of like that. And then I'll start making some adjustments, but I want to get into prototyping. This screen's going to link to this one. Oh, Nana, you love XD. Cheers to that. Cheers. Howard loves repeat grids. I do too. Like, Howard, don't you want to see it like everywhere? I want to see it in absolutely every app now, because you just get used to using it. There we go. Okay. Cool. All right, and again, for the Discover location, boom, duplicating that screen. You'd probably have a very large one. As you take a look at Repeat Grid, you could always break it apart because sometimes you're going to need that sort of control. Sometimes I'll shrink things down. I'll kind of do that, and then I'll do an Ungroup Grid. So even though something's inside of a Repeat Grid, you could do an Ungroup Grid, get something like that. Jumping out. That's right. I was working on my logo too for this fictitious app. Just gonna make a star, quite frankly. Here's my fancy star. Let's make it white. Copying it. Pasting. Like that. Okay, still using Repeat Grid. Clicking Repeat Grid. Now we have, you know, 5 stars, right? We can have more information around this, but this is just another way of using Repeat Grid. What I'll do here is I'll hit Command D, and watch right over here, Command D, boop. It will duplicate your item and put it right on top of the other, which is why I'm glad we have the Layers panel. Why did I do that? Well, because for the second one, I actually want to change the color of this to gold. And now we can have something that's like, you know, 2.5 stars, 3.5 stars, 4.5 stars. You get it. A rating system set up for this particular use case. And you get the idea. All right, let's move on. Command 0 will show everything within my screen, but I want to start right here. Can you repeat the Eiffel Tower? Yeah, nobody can really repeat the Eiffel Tower. Although I do want to know what this is, because this is actually in Tokyo, and I don't know what tower this is in Tokyo. But no, you can't repeat Grid, or you can't repeat the Eiffel Tower. All right. Cool. All right, so moving on, I'm going to go to Prototype right over here. Let's get rid of these. Prototype, selecting that. What happens? One thing that happens, Aaron, is that the Properties panel disappears. So just be mindful of that. Between Design and Prototype, you'll always know what tab you're in by clicking on either one of these, because the Properties panel will disappear. So for Prototype, what do? I want to start with this splash screen. As I select the splash screen, pop, clicking right there, it's going to be now my home screen right there, okay? So that's the starting point. Notice as I select anything, it's going to give me this little tab. This tab is going to allow me to point to anything else that I want to point to. So if I want to select this, continue as guest, well, this, click. As I click and drag out that tab, I can point it to that second screen. Pop, just like that. You have to add your own sound effects, but here you have transition. It's going to transition to the location screen, and it's going to dissolve it over the 0.4 seconds, easing it out. So that's how that's done. You can do some other things, but that's all we're going to do right now. We'll just dissolve it, nice and easy. What about this one? This button's going to go down here. Pop, just like that, and it's going to dissolve as well. Okay, let's take this button right in here if we want to go back. Let me see if I can select it. So this is the thing. I did not make this, by the way. Kay, I would not make it this size. This is like too small. In fact, this might not even meet the standards. I think it's should be 44 pixels for iOS. But basically, this is kind of small. So typically what I do in this case, luckily, since it is a Command 3, since it's a symbol, I can add to it. So I'm actually just going to draw. This is like just a quick hack, too, is I can just kind of make this, you guessed, just make this box that's a little larger than the button, but I need to make sure that it's 44 by 44, like that. This size, like the size that I can actually click on, right? And that's just going to be a white box, but I could take that down to 0, right? So now it's going to be a little more sizable, easier to select, and I was able to edit that symbol like so. Cool. All right, so where's that going to go? It's going to go back to the prototype, this home screen. Click, point up, dissolve it back, done and done. A little pro tip for these back buttons, right? Since you could get to maybe this create account screen from multiple locations, what you want to do is just click on it, that tab, and you can say, rather than choosing artboard, you can go to previous artboard. So wherever you are, it will reverse that transition and go to that previous artboard. Just like that, that's done. Zooming out, let's add some more interactivity. We want to take a photo. It's going to go here. And in this case, it's going to do a slide left. Oh no, let's have it slide up. Slide up. And what about this close button? It's going to slide down. You get the idea. This little button right here will go to your camera roll. So we'll have this also slide up. Again, I think this is definitely not going to be perfect, but that's the point of prototyping. Discover location, Avanti right here. That's going to be this screen. Boom. And in this case, we will just have it dissolve. And one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do a quick change in there real fast, but let's just bear with me. Basically, I'm leaving some things empty because we want to be able to change those. I'll show you why they may or may not work. Again, they're going to dissolve. So we click in this Discover, look at all this grid, click in here. We can see that that's the Eiffel Tower, which is not in Denver, but you get the idea. Okay. As we click this capture button right here, that's going to go clear over here. And notice how I actually can't grab it because that other screen is way over there. Of course, that's why we have this drop down right here. So I can choose an artboard, which happens to be the photo screen. Let me double check that though. Yep, photo screen. That's going to link to the photo screen, and it's going to dissolve. Done and done. Question, is there some kind of standard guide for the font size, button size? Yeah, for UI. It depends on your platform. Typically, these are right. I would actually go into Get UI Kits, and you have Apple iOS and Google Material. So when it comes to button sizes and things, think about grabbing the Apple iOS kit, and then grabbing the size of those elements, like whatever it is. So coming in here to UI Kits, iOS. I actually already have it open, by the way. I don't know why I'm going there, but this is what it looks like. Perfect. So you can kind of get an idea the size of some of these elements just by diving in here. This is all made in XD, by the way. I'll do Command 0 to see everything. You can see, yes, but it's basically there's iOS user interface guidelines. Then also there is Google Material guidelines and Windows as well. Cool. All right, click and play. Let's dive into this. I'm not crazy about the purple. I think I'm going to get away from the purple. I'm not a huge fan. Let me know, Byron or Aaron, if you like the color. Maybe it's not working. Let's go log in using Facebook. Let's go back. Let's continue as guest. Bop. Here we are. Ideally, you can kind of pan around, which would be cool. We'll go right over here. All the photos taken at Avanti. Notice how it actually is this screen. I actually want to make a change here, by the way, because I'm thinking, geez, you don't know that it's Avanti. I noticed that this needs a title. So, text tool. Using the text tool. Avanti, Highlands, Denver, Highlands neighbor, whatever the case may be. But that's what I'm doing right in here. Let's go down to take that down. Notice I could preview this app and then make those changes as I go along, right? Maybe a bright orange or blue. All right, so again, this is the nice thing I could do. I can go back, I can hit these close buttons. I can't get to that first screen. What I can do is I could use my arrow keys. So as you're working, you might have this even, maybe it's on a separate monitor, but I can go back here and continue to work. As I click on this screen, notice how it's tied together. So since Anel likes the orange or blue, selecting this, let's actually turn off, let's unlock it, and I'm just going to turn off that transparency. Maybe it's better like that is all. I don't know, something I'll work with. I'll work on it. This also has a shadow as well. So we see the shadow, we can crank that up. Typically, anytime you add a shadow, you probably should not do it all black, but go with sort of a color. So I'm going to tint this like a little bit of purple and make sure that stands off accordingly. So I think that's a little better. All right, continue as guest. We can navigate through. We can also just like dive into taking a photo. From here, once we've taken that photo, we can see it here, and we can do a post to Facebook as well. Let's check this out. Actually, I really like this photo. Maybe this will be my photo. Oh, so many changes I want to work on. Doing one more thing really fast. So, where are we? Right here. Let's duplicate this. Let's do something like this. Ooh, this is a mistake that we have. This is what happens initially. Because anytime you click this button right here, it's actually going to ask you if you want camera access. So this is where I'd use a UI kit. So I'll open up this UI kit. Wait for it, wait for it. And I'd want to do an overlay here. Okay, so I could pin content. I can have an overlay. There's a number of things we can do. It's really awesome. Again, we'll give it a second. I have not saved, so please work. Don't crash on me. I'll remind you of the schedule, and remind me to click back to my screen, because this is usually what I forget, but we do have Zach, Chris, Sarah, Andrea, all coming up this week. And don't forget about the XD Daily Challenge as well. Right in here, this overlay. So it would be this. Something like this. Copying this. Stealing from that UI kit. Coming in here. Pasting it in. Not right there. Just put it down here. Doing this as fast as I can, because I'm running out of time. But look, luckily this is really easy. Let's get rid of this. This is access. Camera access. Taking these elements, dropping it on just like that. Camera. Confirm. Right? Give us access to your camera? Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, so that's what's going to happen when you click on this button. Prototype. Pulling that down here. Right there. Instead of going with the transition, we're going to make it an overlay. Right? So I could change the screen all I want. In fact, it's going to overlay over the whole thing, because it's going to make all of it sort of a dark gray, kind of washed out, and we're going to dissolve it. So that's what I want to do. As I wind down to my last couple minutes, as some histories. Ha, Nana. Oh, cheers, my friend. Watched a video on Flash back in the day. 4 or 5 years ago. Good to hear. Which means you learn nothing. Just kidding. Going in here, I want to take a photo, but that's when I might want to have this. Sure enough, we have that overlay. Yeah, I need to move that over, but that's how an overlay works. I don't need to duplicate screens or anything like that. Again, I'm noticing that overlay was not quite there. I can make that adjustment. Boop. There we are, pretty easily. In fact, let's select everything. There we go. Now it should be lined up. But isn't that nice? Because you know what? Even for that camera access, I want it to work differently. Pulling this off, I'm going to have it go here. Right? Maybe it needs to go here instead. As soon as you click on that camera button, that's when you give it the camera access overlay. Right? Boop. And in that case, it's sliding up. Not to worry. I could always change that to dissolve. Howard, how are you? Howard, are you still there? Anyway. Howard is our new Adobe XD evangelist. I think he starts next week, so that's cool. All right. You'll hear more about that shortly. Clicking there, we can say, hey, access camera, confirm. You get the idea. All right, from there, I can share it with the world like I'm doing right up here. Preview button, but in this case, publishing a prototype. Oh, it's looking to having a problem with my... I should probably save my file first. But right up... Yes, so Howard is our new Adobe XD design evangelist, or Adobe XD evangelist. Cheers, Howard. A little cheers to you. So that's why any questions, you could direct him at him. Well, not yet, because he actually hasn't started yet, but soon. Anyways, I'm not going to be there next week, man. Bummer. I'm not needed there, so they're like, you don't have to go. Bummer. All right. All right, so there's that. I could always open up maybe even another example that I was working on. Here's something I was working on last week, which was kind of fun, but you can take any project, publish prototype. Something's happening. And it's probably all my fault, but that's okay. So that is creating a photo app, right? Once you publish it out, you will have the ability to share it with whoever you want. They can add comments, and you can communicate that way very effectively on your design. Even if you're using like Photoshop or just doing any design where you need somebody's feedback, consider using XD, publishing out that link, and then you'll see a list of comments that travel with the file, which is awfully nice. So, yes. So that is that. I'm kind of winding down. Yes, Howard, I'm sure I'll see you very soon. Not to worry. I will be in San Francisco this week, everyone. We do have the live streams going on all this week. And then Friday is when the Adobe XD team will be joining us. Don't forget that you could always jump in. You can always provide feedback, learn some more as well, all through the help menu, where basically the team's pretty active when it comes to like providing feedback and voting up things. There's some things that I didn't even talk about, by the way, but again, I gotta save them for next time, such as all those strokes I talked about earlier. But what I love is with the assets panel, being able to name these colors. Like this is the primary color approved version, for instance. So this is brand new, being able to name all your library or your assets in your assets panel. It's not, I don't know if we technically call it our library. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful day. I really appreciate you and everything you guys do. Remember, just don't forget to, I don't know, drink lots of water, everybody. Call your mom. Watch more documentaries. I don't know. Go watch Mission Impossible. 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Actually, was very good. Watched it yesterday. Yes. Spoil alert. Tom Cruise saves the world again. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you, and we will talk soon. And I will just leave you with the schedule at this point. Thanks, everyone.